Hi, my name is Mario Longo and this is my ALT3 project. My goal was to write a program that would calculate an answer to a specific question using a few inputs and functions that would work in cohesion to dispense an output. I began by outlining the parameters this ALT was asking for and then based on them, brainstorming a few ideas of which I then cut down to my 3 favorite ones. I made a scoring matrix to rank these ideas from best to worst based on a few factors. Out of the 3 ideas, Toast Toastiness Calculator, Password Generator, and Rabies Urgency Meter, I chose idea number 2 as it scored the highest overall. Looking back, I realized that I should have chosen a more numerical idea which actually calculated something rather than the password generator. Moving on, I created a timeline to help visualize my goals and how much time I needed to spend on each section. I also created a flowchart which was a pseudocode version of how my code would function and the questions that would be asked. After this, I made a system architecture graph which shows how the inputs get put into the functions which are then stored and finally shooting out an output. Now I began to program my code, which I will be explaining how it works here. My code begins by asking the user their name. The user has a lot of freedom to what they write here and can write their name, username, name and surname, etc. This input is then put into a function which works like this. It turns the input into a list and runs through a for loop which gets rid of all the spaces located inside this list. At first I didn't have this, but after realizing spaces could be chosen as a letter, the password would not work in many websites. After this, another list is made and the initial list based on its length gets randomized twice or 3 times and each random letter is chosen. These letters then get added back to the empty list and the list is returned. The second question is inside the function and it asks the user what their favorite day of the week is. A while loop runs until the user enters a number in between 1 and 7. If the user enters anything outside this range, it prints an error and asks them to try again. Initially, I had a valued error mechanic if a wrong answer is put in, but after realizing that I couldn't have an error in my code, I changed to this. This number is then put in a list and returned. The third input was a weird question. It asked the user if they're extroverted and this answer is put into the largest function in the code. If the user enters yes, X is placed in a list and they get asked what their preferable friend group size is. This number is then put in this list and returned. If they enter no, in is placed in a list and they are asked what their favorite hobby is. This input has 3 letters chosen from it and they are added to this list and returned. I had an issue with this route where the in wasn't put in the list and I fixed this by changing the name of the list as it was being appended to the wrong list. Second last, the user is asked to choose a symbol which simply gets added to a list and returned. Finally, they are asked what they are using this password for. The input is put in a function which turns it into a list, capitalizes the first letter, and it is returned. All these passwords are converted from integer lists to string lists and then all added together. Initially, I tried to add them before turning them all into string lists, but it wouldn't work because Python can't add numbers and letters. I fixed this by converting them into string lists as I said before. After this, they are all joined with no spaces in between and returned to the user as a final password. Here's an example. In the end, I think my simulation is pretty good doing what it's built for, but does it fit the criteria for this project? No. I choose an idea with a very straightforward path of thinking and I realize now that it doesn't really ever calculate anything, which was the purpose of this project. All in all, I had some fun making it even though I had 1 week less than everyone else and definitely learned some important lessons. Thank you for watching.